There is a real danger in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination to allow us to be manipulated by those power brokers at our helm who wish to abuse us to advance themselves. It has long been the modus operandi and objective of most governing bodies to abuse the populace in order to achieve their ends. It was religious zealotry that was abused by the popery to get people to give up everything and go fight an enemy they had never encountered in the Holy Land. It is political manipulation that drove people to first sign the Act of Succession and then lose their heads when Henry VIII wanted to marry whomever he liked. It is the sad state that in most cases people do not have any idea they are being manipulated. And I believe that's exactly what they're trying to do here. Having conditioned us during quarantine to accept what we are told, many people do not understand that the media that is pushed in front of you has an agenda. I have long known that if you go to Google or any other search engine, that there are two things that put you in the top results. Number one, you've paid for the privilege of getting there. And if you go to Twitter/X, the people with the blue check marks have now paid for one. That doesn't make them better. It just means they are paid users. Or number two, it is the most participatory material available. In other words, it's the one that's most likely to be selected by the standard user. So you're not being shown a fair and balanced search results in most cases. Unless you know how to use Boolean operators, you're getting a result stream that is biased by the algorithm. On YouTube, for example, the suggested content is typically related to the things you have already watched. So you end up in either an echo chamber or a battle of intellectual fisticuffs with videos that run counter to what you actually have been watching of your own free will and choice. So we are guided, in many cases, to the media that the media wishes us to view. And unfortunately, most of that is going to be the most extreme available media on both sides of the aisle. So whether you're on the left side or the right side, you are going to hear things that are either echoing the things you happen to already believe or that are going to incite you against the most extreme views of the other side. This is not done in order to educate you or to inform you. It is done to manipulate you into action. In the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk event on Wednesday, there was a lot of stuff going around on the internet about it's time to take the gloves off. It's time for retribution. That's exactly what they want, but I don't think that's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. I don't know a lot of his stuff. He would show up in my feed periodically, probably because he was popular and prominent, and not because his content was the kind of thing that I typically view. But if you view anything that's remotely related to that, it might suggest that as a way to drive you down some other kind of a rabbit hole based on what you've already viewed. I think, based on what little I know of him, he would want us to come together in Christ. So here's what's happening. They're trying to put us against each other so that we do not understand or recognize or have any power to bear against those who are pulling the strings. Like it or not, we are all marionettes, but only few of us, perhaps like Charlie Kirk, become Pinocchios and throw off the strings with which the puppeteer drives our emotions and then goes out on their own to seek their own fortune. Typically speaking, we are all sitting here having our strings pulled. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you realize you'll be able to have the opportunity to break free and have no strings on you. Most people don't do their own searches. They don't do their own homework. Now people are asking ChatGPT to do their thinking for them. That's bad. Because ChatGPT, like most of the other media, is using what is mostly available, and it's pulling a lot of its stuff from Reddit, which is largely emotional, let's say, editorials masquerading as news. There's a lot of emotional and opinionated stuff out there. Even on YouTube, before I was before I was silenced on Twitter, I would comment to people and say, do you have a source for this? Because an image with words written on it is not a source, and your opinion is not a source. Give me a source, because even if I liked it, I'm not going to share it unless I have a source. But I know that's not the normal Super K. And so what we get is a bunch of people passing around half-truths and whole lies, and they laugh at us while we do it. Because while we're too busy fighting each other, we don't have any time or energy to bring to bear against the marionette pulling the strings. So here's the real fact of the matter. With rare exceptions, like the person who killed Charlie Kirk, you actually share more in common with the randomly selected member of the other party than you do with rich, powerful people who don't know you. Let me give you another example. You are much more likely to have things in common with Charlie Kirk than Donald Trump for very simple reasons. Number one, Donald Trump was born into money. Charlie Kirk was not. Number two, Donald Trump has had multiple wives. Charlie Kirk has only had one. Number three, Donald Trump is a orbiting Christian. Like, it's not a significant part of his behavior or his life, but he does orbit around Christ. Charlie Kirk talked about him specifically and openly and encouraged people to draw near unto him. There are significant differences between the two. So if you are a right-winger, you share more in common with Charlie Kirk and the people at his rally than you do with the leaders of the party. Because those are people who are spending time where the rubber meets the road, walking along the sidewalk at the same level you are, and engaging with you. Donald Trump is too important, whether you believe that or not, to go to an event where you can get that close to him without a whole bunch of security between you and him or having everyone vetted beforehand. Like it or not, because I think that's a big failing on Kirk's part to not have better security, he was interested in drawing near unto the people. That's what we need to keep in mind. I have coworkers here with whom I vehemently disagree on politics. I am pleased to report that I have not heard any jubilation about Kirk's death, or it's almost like it didn't happen here. And I respect that because they're not seething at the opportunity to make gains with it. I also don't hear students on the other side who are super upset. People are sad and people are shocked because we're all people at the end of the day. At the end of the day, you share a lot more in common with your next door neighbor, whether you like them or not, than you do with someone randomly on some other part of town or in another state, even if you share political beliefs. Because the person that's your next door neighbor, you share a property line with them. You have already shared conversation, you've shared looks, you have been able to tolerate them, even if, like mine, you don't like them at all. Because you have already tolerated them by not calling the cops or throwing rotten eggs in their backyard or whatever it is that you would want to do because they're not the same as you. And I don't know anything about my neighbor's politics. All I know is that he's from Uruguay. So I could only guess because I'm not super up on what Uruguayan politics is about. But I'm guessing that because I've done enough traveling, even though I've never been to Uruguay, that he's like almost everyone else everywhere else I've met. I've traveled enough to know that most people, regardless of where they live, share this in common. They want to do things they love, share it with people who matter to them, and be left alone. And in that way, we are all the same. All of us want to do stuff we like, share it with people we care about, and then have people we don't like leave us alone, including the billionaires and the powerful people at the top of whatever the organization is that you were in. I love the fact that most of the upper echelon here don't know my name. The dean doesn't make me wear a name tag. The people who need to know, and everyone else can go walk west until their hat floats, as far as I'm concerned. I don't interact with them, but I have made friends of the HVAC staff, the electricians, the maintenance people, the janitor. I haven't seen her today, but trying to think of it, and other people because those are the people who get the work done that I'm most likely to interact with. And I get along with most of them. I don't know anything about their politics. Well, I know very little about their politics. Some of them are more forthcoming than others because that doesn't matter. And we have other things that we share. We share a friendship, a work relationship. We share conversations. There's a secretary in the department. Her mother died 2 weeks ago. I didn't know this until today. But I knew that she would talk to her all the time. I learned only lately that she actually lived with it. Her mom had lived with her. So we had a brief chat today because I don't know anything about her politics. I don't care. She's grieving because her mom died, and that brings us together as humans. The great opportunity and invitation with Charlie Kirk's death is for us to come together as citizens. I remember before, when Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man in that movie, there were people who picked on the Green Goblin and said, if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. And I want to know where that America went. That's the America that we need. Not an America that says, you took one of ours, we'll take one of yours. Or, no, it's no longer the time to cooperate and conversate. Kirk would not have believed that. Kirk would, if he was alive, he'd be doing an event today up in another school in Utah, because that's what he believed in, and so should we. I'm going to make this comparison allegorically to the movie V for Vendetta. In the movie, at the very end of the movie, all of the normal people of London come together dressed in Guy Fawkes masks and overcome the military response, because at their core, the soldiers, even though they follow orders, still know those are their countrymen. And so no shots are fired, and they allow them to pass by. Those people, at the end of the movie, as they take their masks off, it pans over them, and some of them you've met along the way. They're of differing sexual orientations, political ideologies, socioeconomic circumstances, etc., and he found a way to bring them all together against the people who were pulling the strings, because he knew that if he could get all of them together, then it wouldn't matter who was pulling the strings, and he would not have to do it alone. That's what we need to do. We need to recognize that there's some puppet master pulling on our strings who has no interest in our advancement. And I don't care if he's a Tudor or a Stuart. I don't care if he's a Bush or a Clinton. These people are not your friends. They do not know you. They cannot like you. You cannot actually genuinely love or hate someone you have never met. But someone that you see every day, your hatred for them can be wholly real, and so can your concern and compassion. Everyone was super concerned about Irina Zaretska. Hold on, better look it up. Oh, good, I got it right. Irina Zaretska, about her death. None of us know her. I mean, we relate to her. We need to relate to people we know, to the person in the next office, to the instructor that follows us, to our next door neighbors who may have different political views. Because at the end of the day, you share things with them that you do not share with George Soros or Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Those people are so in a different orbit that they can't really relate to you the way that you can relate to your next door neighbors. So what do I recommend that we do after Charlie Kirk's death? I recommend that we realize that there is far more in common between us than there is that divides us. The people pulling the strings want to draw attention to the fact that I don't believe abortion is a right and you do, that I think that you should make as good of an effort as you can to provide for yourself, and then government step in and not vice versa. I believe that if you want to own a gun and you have demonstrated so far that you have a right to keep one, that you have a right to keep and bear arms, like it says in the Bill of Rights. Even though I know that people make mistakes, because I know that I don't want you to tell me what I can and cannot do. It's funny that if you sit down and you strip the politics away for a moment, you can actually have a pleasant evening with your neighbors you don't like. If you strip away the politics, you can actually talk about things that you enjoy. I have neighbors who don't agree with me politically who are like, oh, I want to see pictures of your trip to Belgium. Okay. I have people who don't agree with, who are different religions, who will talk with me about Jesus. Because at the core, there is stuff that we share. I was taught, when I was a missionary, to build on common ground. And I know that the best lasting relationships, and the only way to actually bring this country together, is by building on common ground. And for most people, that means that we share an interest in music or movies or recreational activities, that we all wave the same flag at a rally, or that we all have the same dogma when we worship. As important as those things may be, those are things that we do, not things that we are. And at the end of the day, it is what we are and what we believe in at our core that needs to bring us together. And I'll bet that if you get to the nitty-gritty, your neighbors, even though they may believe in abortion, do think that these killings were tragic. That even though they may disagree with you on economic policy, they do still want to have opportunities to grow financially, just the same as you do, just in different ways. We disagree not on where we want to arrive in all too many cases, but on how we get there and what it looks like when we get there. And that's the key thing, is we all value the same things. For different reasons, maybe, and in different ways. But at the end, because we are humans, as long as you have a conscience, you're not a psychopath, most of us actually share a lot more than the ways in which we differ. And that's what we need to take from Charlie Kirk. He was trying to bring people together. He was trying to have a discussion, to have courageous conversations, to talk about the hard things. Because if all you talk about is music, movies, and recreational activities, you don't have a friendship, you don't have a relationship, you don't have a party, you have a club. And while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. And the right words, used in the right way, can uplift, inspire, and illuminate. As you interact with your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, your family, at the end of the day, there's one thing over all the others that matters, and that is every single one of you, even the people you don't know, and especially the people you don't like, is also a child of God. God loves that person too. So no matter what they may be doing, no matter what they may advocate, no matter what they may believe, that's something that cannot be taken away from them, who they are and how he feels. And I know it can sometimes be hard to see them as God sees them, but I know that even people who rejoice and riot in my blood and who would despitefully use me and persecute me, that there is something in them that God loves. I've asked sometimes, help me to see that, because I don't know what it is. And I will end with this, because I believe it's time to share more Christian themes in our conversation than we have been. At the preface to the Screwtape Letters 1963 edition that I don't have it with me because I wasn't planning on doing this today, there's a letter from C.S. Lewis. And in that letter, it's only in that version that I've ever seen it. C.S. Lewis says this, quote, "I do not believe that if you take away all that is good in man, you are left with a bad man. I believe that if you take away all that is good in man, you are left with nothing at all." End quote. I believe that mankind is good, that mankind's behavior may be bad, that mankind's thinking may be deflected or deceived, that mankind's motives may be impure. But at the end of the day, because we are all made of a perfect being as his sons and daughters, that we are and can be good. Look for the good in man. It is easy to find the evil, but I challenge you to look for it. I promise you that if you do, you will find it. And as we find the good in others, as we find common ground on which to build, maybe we can all break free from the puppet master's jest on all of us, and finally say, there are no strings on any of us. Godspeed and take care.